I thought, thanks for reading Wendell. I was going to look up some of Wendell's poems, and I forgot. But I do have Robert Frost, Edward Thomas, Walt Whitman, and me. A descending part. But I thought I'd start with a poem that I'd written for Arbor Day last year. I didn't think I would come up with one, but I did, and then I couldn't come anyway, and sent one of our graduate students who did a very good job, I'm glad to hear. This one's called Beyond My Footfall. A footfall on the fallen leaves, my footfall. Careful, I am careful not to trouble mushrooms furled in the spongy, crumbling duff, or scuffle the softening mass muffling my steps. All night, small fowl pierced by spring squabble toward triumphal arias. High-blooded harmonies fill a canopy full already with the almost metallic odor of chlorophyll. The blue air perfumed green field, life glow from each leaf shining new. Call it joyful, call it plentiful or prayerful, call it summer's fuel, then the darkening fall blazes firelessly, xanthophyll like gold and copper foil, coruscant beyond my footfall, metaphor, and last belief, to the next unfailing regeneration faithful. One of the things that was kind of interesting to me in that poem was to see if you could put words like chlorophyll and xanthophyll into a poem. And you could probably hear that I was working off those full sounds in there, starting with the word, fall and fallen, and playing with those, and that let me, I hope, use words like chlorophyll in a poem. I thought I would not read Walt Whitman's poems, but there's a section from his prose in Specimen Days. I think we're in the 70s here, fairly far after the war, the Civil War, and he's not feeling well, so he goes out in the woods to exercise, and his method of exercising is to wrestle with the trees. A solitary and pleasant sundown hour at the pond, exercising arms, chest, my whole body by a tough oak sapling thick as my wrist, 12 feet high, pulling and pushing, inspiring the good air. After I wrestle with the tree a while, I can feel its young sap and virtue welling up out of the ground and tingling through me from crown to toe like health's wine. Then for addition and variety, I launch forth in my vocalism, shout declamatory pieces, sentiments, sorrow, anger, etc., from the stock poets or plays, or inflate my lungs and sing the wild tunes and refrains I heard of the Blackstown South, or patriotic songs I learned in the Army. I make the echoes ring, I tell you. As the twilight fell, in a pause of these ebulations, an owl somewhere the other side of the creek sounded to woo, 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 soft and pensive, and I fancied a little sarcastic, repeated 4 or 5 times, either to applaud the songs or perhaps an ironical comment on the anger, sorrow, or style of the stock poets. This is kind of the same thing that Robert Frost does in his great poem, Birches, where as a boy he plays swinging on the birch trees out in the forest. When I was growing up in Alabama, I tried that with hickories. It didn't work so well. Have you all ever tried, have you done this, swung on a birch?
No,
Mary, you ever swung on a birch?
Swung in a birch, no.
Yeah.
I think I've swung in trees, but not in a birch.
Okay. I mean, because I think what Frost is talking about, you pull them down and you use them as a what would you call that? Catapult, yeah, to kind of swing you up and then you would swing around on it. And then you don't, nobody's ever done that. That's a dying thing. Nobody does that anymore. Maybe they'll make a video game of it for me. All right. Here's another poem of my own. It's called Birth of a Naturalist, playing on a poem by Seamus Heaney, where Heaney's talking about death of a naturalist, where he sees the frogs spawning, and the scene is so gross that he runs from it. And I was thinking, I must be as much of a boy as it's possible to be, because that seemed to be the kind of thing that would make you a naturalist rather than running from it. At some level, I think it's a poem about sexual fear, because he's seeing the frog scum, basically the frog jizz, floating in the pond, and that grosses him out. I think the nice word is semen, isn't it? The Birth of a Naturalist. Among moist bromeliads I was bored, and the soft-fingered ferns annoyed me, like an ant touching my face and trailing her fingers down my cheeks. What was I, a possession? In the gift shop where I desired nothing, a stranger confused boredom or balked desire, and bought me a small pot with a blunt nub like a toad's brown snout jutting from dry soil. Thank you, I said, thank you, as I had been taught, and she departed, a plump whirl of black hair and red scarves. In my pocket, the pot rode my thigh like a stone, and because it was a secret, my secret, I began to love it. The next day, the toad's tumescent snout, now mossy green, cracked the packed dirt. On the windowsill over my bed, a rickety stalk rose and kept rising until it fell, and with the toppled orchid in my arms, I slept past dawn when mother's laughter woke me, and I was shamed. Beyond our lawn and property, again in secret, I tucked its roots in spongy humus. I always call that word. I always mispronounce that word. The spongy humus, where spindly and limp-leaved it dwindled. Now, when I stretch out over its absence, the coarse vigor of its killers cushions me, and I imagine the lost orchid animating bracken, buttercup, bramble, and broadleaf dock. Morning glory overclimbs it all, green on green, blaring its beautiful and murderous alabaster trumpets, while twizzling vines unfurl, spin in the sun, and clutching caress my face. One of the things, when you look at a morning glory vine, and they're putting out those green feelers, and you sometimes sense that you can see them move. Somebody's done time-lapse, a lot of people have done time-lapse photography of this on YouTube, so you can actually see them coming out and grabbing the fence or whatever and crawling up. It's kind of great. So yeah, that's my point about that. I want to go back to equipment again, because in Specimen Days, which is basically his notebook, this is where we get those great images of him tending the Union soldiers after the war. But he goes on to his life in New Jersey, which is where that piece I just read about his wrestling with trees takes place. And at one point in there, he just has a little section called, and it's put in boldface, and it's called Trees I Am Familiar With.